Welcome to the Autism in Black podcast, where we focus on all things autism and the Black parent experience. Our goal is to always educate, support, and empower parents to advocate for not only their children, but themselves. I'm Maria Davis-Pierre, a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida and America's #1 autism advocate for Black parents. I'm the founder and CEO of Autism in Black, Inc., where we aim to include the excluded.
Welcome back to another episode of the Autism in Black podcast. I am your host, Maria Davis-Pierre, and today I am here with Victoria, who is a speaker at our 4th annual Autism in Black conference. I want to give you a little bit of background about Victoria before we go ahead and start into our podcast episode. So, Victoria is an autism advocate, and they were diagnosed with autism when she was 3 years old, and she couldn't speak until she was 7. She uses her gift of djembe to inspire the autism community and women of all races, gender, and creed. She graduated from Western Illinois University in December 2012 with a bachelor's degree in communication and minor in theater. After graduation, Victoria studied West African drumming with a master drummer, Bolo Kodo and Michael Taylor. She is now a substitute teacher at Old Town School of Folk Music and a drum teacher at Ruth Page Center for the Arts. She is also an apprenticed performer drummer in an all-female drum and dance company, which is called Ayodele Drum and Dance. She Wolf Sacred Movement and drum facilitator of Sister Afa. Now, if I've pronounced any of this wrong, I'm sure Victoria is going to correct me, and I apologize in advance. So thank you, Victoria, for being here. We're so happy to have you.
This episode of the Autism in Black podcast is sponsored by Amazon, our title sponsor for the 4th annual Autism in Black conference, and Grantmakers for Girls of Color, our gold sponsor for the 4th annual Autism in Black conference. Special thanks to Amazon and Grantmakers for Girls of Color for their sponsorship and making an impact.
Thank you so much. So I was part of an all-female group, Ayodele Drum and Dance. Ayodele means join a home in the Yoruba language in Nigeria. And I studied with Bolakada Kande from Guinea, West Africa, and Michael Taylor in Chicago, Illinois.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, I want to start kind of at the beginning. So can you share with us your personal journey of being autistic, especially being diagnosed at a young age? How was that for you? Were you aware, or did you not become aware of your autism until you were older?
Well, I was diagnosed when I was 3 years old with autism. Couldn't speak till I was 7 years old. And I wasn't aware too much about my autism until I was older. My family didn't really talk about it as much. They was kind of feeling ashamed about it. So it wasn't a big topic amongst our family to talk about autism. So it was very rough to find resources, especially in the 90s, to find resources and programs to help with my socialization skills. Even though I was part of summer camps, like Boys and Girls Club, and basically doing after school matters in Chicago, I still was feeling lost of belonging with my autism community. So it took me until when I was older to really kind of look into my autism diagnosis and really study that and really understand why I act the way I act, why I had a hard time being social with people or getting along with people or making friends, or why I was stimming and stuff like that. I didn't know all that stuff until later in my life.
Mm-hmm. And when you say later, how old were you when you really started to dive deeper into that?
Honestly, in my 20s, I would say that I was 22 years old. I was part of an all-female group, Ayodele Drum and Dance, and I had a hard time with sarcasm. I didn't get sarcasm. I didn't get the jokes right away, so I had a very hard time identifying if that person was being serious or she was joking or not. So I had a difficult time with that. And it came to an incident with one of the drummers where he made a joke, and I thought he was being mean or being serious, and I didn't understand it. And we got into where we clashed, and the director had to pull me to the side and say, we got to talk because something's not right here. So that's
Mhm.
what I realized, okay, I need to talk about autism so they can understand me more and understand why I am the way I am. So that's how it came about. And basically watching the show For Peace Sake or Meet the Peace with Howard Robinson Pete, that kind of helped me to open up about my autism. Because at first I didn't really understand what autism was about. Because it wasn't talked about within my family members and stuff like that. So it took me watching a TV show to really understand what autism was about. And then the incident that happened at with I done drum and dance and how I could understand sarcasm. That's when I really started to look more deeply into autism.
Okay. And then as you did that deep dive, how was that journey for you? Because I myself am a late diagnosed adult.
Right,
So for me, I find that I have ebbs and flows of on my journey, like, okay, yeah, you are really autistic. And then sometimes I'm like, girl, what's going on here? Right. So sometimes on my journey, it's really about, oh, this really explains why I am the way I am. And it can bring so much clarity to how you grew up and how you experienced childhood. So with
right.
you knowing that you are autistic, but doing that deep dive in your 20s, how was that self-discovery for you?
It was great. I mean, once I was able to discover that I have autism, that made me want to self-advocate more. Because
Mhm.
as I get older, I'm not gonna wait for my parents or people to advocate for me. Now it's time to put on your big pennies on and let's get to work. So what
Mhm.
I did was I realized there was a lot of activities and programs with people with disabilities or autism, and I was already teaching African drumming here and there. So I said, let me deep dive into that and use that as my healing journey to not only to discover autism, but to help other people that have autism as well. So the journey, once I was able to find my autism, it was more easier for me. I was able to find other people that had autism just like myself, other organizations, part districts and stuff like that.
Mm. I love that. So do you believe that your diagnosis influenced your advocacy work within the autism community?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because once you're able to find yourself and
Mhm.
find who you are, it gets easier along the way because you know what you want, you know what you're looking forward to, and how to get there. So once I was able to, accept that one, I do have autism, and two, that I'm different and I'm okay with that, then I
Mhm.
can start helping out other people. Because you gotta take care of yourself first before you help somebody else. So if you're not able to accept the fact that you have autism or you go through trials and tribulations, then you can't help nobody else. So once I was able to get myself together first, I was able to find other organizations to work with and then incorporate my African drum classes there.
Mhm. I love that you said accepting who you are and accepting yourself. I think there's a lot of struggle with that.
Right,
Our community, because of especially the Black community,
right,
because of the stigmas of autism and the Black community really not having the information about autism like other communities. So I think
right,
there's such a stigma in our community that really hinders us from getting to that acceptance phase a lot of the time because it's so, oh, you're autistic, oh, what does that mean, and then all of the slurs and everything else because of the stigmas that come along. So it is sometimes we keep it close to our chest because it's like, well, how are people going to perceive me? So but I love that you said you have to accept yourself.
right.
Mhm.
It's so important because a lot of people they don't want to talk about it because they're afraid they might lose their friendship. I don't care. Either
Mhm.
you be my friend for real or we done. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I have to be honest. I have to be myself at all times. Because if you're not able to be yourself, then you lose your identity and you lose who you are.
Exactly. And I find that as I've gotten older, it's been easier for me to do that.
Right,
I think, with age comes wisdom and all of those things. And I think
right,
it's just, well, at least in my case, for me, I just don't have the time to keep up that type of energy. You're either gonna accept me for who I am, because I cannot fake at this point. I'm not masking, I'm not code switching. I don't have that energy to do that. So either you're going to accept me or you're not. So I think with age, that does become easier at times to be able to be like, okay, this is who I am. Like, you know, like you said, put your big girl panties on and this is what it is.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Your bio mentions that you use your gift of, and I want to make sure that I'm pronouncing this right, djembe?
Djembe.
Djembe.
So the D is silent, djembe.
Okay. Djembe, to
Yeah.
inspire the autism community and women of all races, gender, and creed. Can you tell us more about how drumming has played a role in your advocacy efforts?
Well, drumming helped me to build my social skills. Growing up, I didn't have a lot of friends, so I really had to find my way to, to find an outlet that I actually enjoyed and that I love to do. And drumming was one of those things. It helped me with my social skills, discipline, teamwork, to find independence. Because when you're doing drumming, you have to do the drumming, not your parents, not your guardian, not your administrators. You have to do the drumming yourself and learn how to do it yourself. So that's what I like about the drumming aspect, where I get to do the drumming and nobody else can do it for me. So that's what helped me with my advocacy right there. So it helped me with my teamwork, discipline, build social skills, confidence, basically able to find friends and find a community of people that share the same common thing.
Would you consider drumming your special interest?
Yes,
I
for
love
sure.
that. And then you said it helped you with teamwork, discipline, and your communication and social skills. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So the thing with drumming is you don't have to talk. You have the drum speak for you. That's the good thing about drumming. You don't have to be verbal to do drumming. Anybody could do drumming. And basically, when it comes to teamwork and discipline, well, you're not drumming by yourself. You're drumming with a group of people, and you have to learn how to listen for other people and how they play the drum. We have a signal that tells you when to start, stop, or change, and that's the break. So we would play the break so everybody could, come together and basically stop the rhythm or start the rhythm. So we need to listen for the break in order for us to start. So that's one thing, is you learn how to play with other people. You learn different rhythms and how it kind of match with each other. So it's not about just you. And that's the thing about drumming. It's all about unity. It's all about working with other people and find that discipline and that strength to stay still. Because you sit down for at least an hour and a half. If you talk about taking drum classes, you there for like an hour and a half learning. So you have to have the discipline to sit still while when you learn the drumming. So that's the thing about drumming that helps me, just to help me to basically to find confidence with myself. It was very difficult finding friends and finding other people, but drumming gave me that sense of confidence within myself.
I love that. And I know that in talking to parents who their children are autistic, I tell them all the time that using the special interest to help in areas of deficit is such a great tool, because it allows you to use something that your child is so into to discover those other areas. For instance, my daughter she loves cooking. She's in the culinary program. That's her thing. We use that and utilize that to help with math, to help with those social skills and things of that nature. So I love how you laid out how you use your special interest of drumming to help in those other areas. And I think that those listening, those watching can really learn from that.
Exactly.
And then what inspired you to pursue studies in communication and theater at Western Illinois University?
Well, communication. It was a great tool. It was different type of communication. First, foremost, you have interpersonal, you have persuasion, intrapersonal, stuff like that. So it's different ways of communicating when it comes to those type of studies. And it was just a good way. It was a good major. It kind of fit with my drumming in a way, because you communicate with other people. You learn different ways of how to communicate, to talk to people and stuff like that. So that's how I studied that. And then with theater, I was studying theater in high school. Basically, I did after school matters, but I was part of an improv team. where I
Oh,
do some improv. So that's how that came about. But mostly it was just drumming.
okay. Improv, I find this very interesting, especially when you're working off of each other in that improv. And that's another way to build those skills as well, because you have to work off of each other, at least in a little bit about improv that I know. Because it just be like, do this one thing, and then you guys are building this whole kind of show or monologue around it. So I love that you mentioned improv. That's just a little interest of mine.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then I really want to talk some more about your drumming, because I know that one, you're going to be talking about that and incorporating that into your session at the Autism in Black Conference, guys. So if you want to see Victoria's session, make sure you're getting your tickets, and that link will be in the show notes. But can you share your some of your insights in your experience in studying West African drumming?
Yeah, so I basically at first I was studying drum set at first. And then the teacher like, no, you need to study djembe. So he told me about Old Town School for Music in Chicago, where they have classes there. So at that time, I just finished graduating from West Illinois. I was basically doing an internship at Disney, at Walt Disney in Florida. So I was doing that, and then after I finished that internship, that's when I started to get more serious about the djembe. So I went to Old Town School for Music, and I studied with Michael Taylor. He told me the basics about the djembe, where it came from, the history, how it basically comes from the Mali Empire, and all that type of stuff. And I realized that I learned more quickly when it came to the djembe. It's like it was something that it was just given to me, and I just felt more relaxed. I felt like I knew what I was doing at that time, and I felt more confident and comfortable playing the djembe. And plus, it was different working with a group, because I was so used to being by myself and just doing what I have to do to survive. But with djembe, it allowed me to work with other people. I learned about unity, I learned about community, sense of belonging, and I learned the basic of technique when it came to djembe. It takes years to get your technique on to the best level. And I'm still working on my technique to this day. So it's not like you just learn some chords and some ABCs type of stuff. You really dive in to learn the technique of djembe and how it takes a lot of repetition with djembe. And the thing about djembe is it's a lot of memorization, which is a very key thing for people with autism. People with autism, they have great memorization.
Yes, we do.
So basically with djembe, you have to remember all the rhythms, the ethnic groups, the countries, and the different parts of the instrument that goes along with djembe. And I feel like I could memorize a lot of the rhythms very well. And that's what I took advantage of that, to know that, I could memorize a lot of these rhythms. I know where it comes from, the ethnic group countries and stuff like that. So I just use that to my strength.
Wow. And how long have you been playing djembe?
For the past 11 years now.
Wow, that's amazing. And guys, make sure to stay tuned, because at the end, Victoria is going to do a little drum solo for us.
Oh, yeah.
So your workshop aims to provide insights into the challenges faced by autistic African American women. Could you share some of these challenges and then how you navigated them within the Black culture and through your music?
Yeah. So when I was diagnosed with autism in the 90s, it was very difficult as far as resources. I mean, I was growing up in low income, Section 8, and it just wasn't a lot of resources. It was more resources for people that would have like high income or middle income, but it wasn't a lot of resources for people that had low income. So it was very difficult to find those resources. And plus, my mom and my family didn't really talk about autism as much. Besides me seeing a speech therapist when I was young, but that was basically about it. So it was very difficult as far as finding resources and finding programs and activities for me to do while dealing with my diagnosis. And especially for Black women, it's very tough, because they focus more on the men, but the women are just as important as the men when it comes to the autism community as well. And we bring a lot of confidence, and we bring a lot of character within the autism community.
Yeah. And in school, did you have like an IEP? Were you in special education?
Yeah. So I was in special education from, I would say, pre-K all the way to 8th grade. So I was basically doing special ed in Title One. Title One was another thing that I did. So I did from kindergarten all the way to 5th grade. I was put in a special education school, and then I transferred to a mainstream around 6th to 8th, but I was still part of the Title One program.
And for those who are not aware, Title I schools are schools that where a majority of the children that go there, their family doesn't meet a certain income guideline. So you get certain resources because of being a Title I school, for those who are unaware. And how was your experience with special education? Because I know that even now, currently, because I know what you're talking about is in the 90s, and here we are in 2024, and there is still such a struggle with special education and getting resources and supports for students with disabilities. Did you feel supported? Did you feel like you had what you needed?
I feel with the special education, I was able to learn some stuff, but I didn't feel any growth. That was the problem. Because it sometimes I was good at stuff and sometimes I wasn't. So I wasn't good at comprehension. Really, comprehension was a weakness of mine. So I really had to work on that. And they did a good job with working with students one-on-one base. Because that's a good thing about the special education. You know, you have a lot of one-on-one. The classes are smaller, so you're able to give more attention when you're in the special education schools and stuff like that. And that was probably in the early 2000s for me, as far as special education. But that was only one thing about the special education that I liked was the smaller class ratio to teachers with the one-on-one type of attention.
And reading comprehension is extremely common as a deficit when it comes to autistic individuals. And it's not even just not understanding what you're reading, it's that inferential comprehension that is a struggle, that gray area, the reading beyond the text, which is inferential reading. So it's like, oh, yes, I can read the text and I know what's there, but then the questions of, well, look beyond the text and tell me what you think could happen. That's usually when it becomes a comprehension issue with autistic individuals, just for those listening. And for you, do you feel that if maybe the services were more catered to you, or if someone listened to you and listened to what you believe that you need, that your experience could have been different?
I think so, because it would help me with my socialization. It would help me to get along with people and make new friends and stuff. But also, I feel like the stuff I've been through, it kind of helped me to be more independent early. It kind of helped me to learn stuff on my own and not always depend on people for every single thing. There's a lot of parents out there that will try to limit their children on, doing certain things. They won't let them drive or they won't let them do that. But I'm not gonna tolerate that, and I'm not gonna let no parent try to limit me from doing a basic right. Like you should have the basic right to drive or to go to a school or community college or university. Like it's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So when I hear stuff like that, it just kind of irritates me. So the stuff I've been through, it kind of prepared me to be more independent and not rely so much on family members to do every single thing for you. Because when you do that, you stunt their growth, and then they get angry at you because they're not able to grow and do what they're supposed to do.
So that resilience factor helped you with your independence, because you kind of had like, okay, I gotta put my big girl panties on and get this done. I gotta learn this if I want to make growth. If I want to succeed in this, I have to learn to do it for myself.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
what would you suggest to parents? Because I know for a lot of parents, even myself included sometimes, and I am an autistic adult, it's hard for me to not want to protect my child so much, just because I know what it's like out here, and I know like, oh my God, this can be a scary thing. So what advice do you have for parents to be able to kind of not hover as much and let that independence happen?
The advice I would have is stop using your fears and insecurities on your children.
Mm.
Because you have a fear and insecurity, that has nothing to do with your child. So you have to take your mindset out of it and think about your child first and what your child wants to do in their life. It's not about you anymore, it's about the child now, because we advocate for our children. So I just feel like we need to stop using our fears and worry so much and just let the child grow. If they say train a child as a goal, you don't just exclude the disability community. That's for everybody. That's for everybody. So you have to train a child. So if the parent's not there, they're able to learn for themselves and find those resources. The resources are there. It's not like it's not there. It's there. And just continue to find those resources. Continue to put up your sleeve and get to work.
I love that. You just got me all the way together, right? Not holding on to that fear. You just got me together. So I'm gonna have to check that because it is so hard to do, to check that fear and not kind of be like, oh, let me just stop you from feeling this pain. But like you said, sometimes that resilience is what you need to be able to bounce back and be like, oh, this is what it's like. This is what I need to do for myself. So thank you for um, and then in what ways do you hope your workshop at the Autism Black Conference will contribute to greater understanding and support for Black autistic women within the broader community, including parents, educators, and advocates?
Well, with African drumming, we all need self-care. We need an outlet to protect our mental health. And I feel like drumming does exactly that. Help us to relax and release stress and stuff like that, but also understand that it takes a person to find confidence in social skills and teamwork, all that and less than drumming. Just to understand that is very important that, if you just kind of use an outlet to release yourself, you'll be just okay. And then for the parents, drumming is for everybody. It's not just for people with autism or disabilities. It's for everybody to join in and to know that if it's not in your area, I'm willing to travel to your area to provide those African drum classes for you.
I love it. And then where can people who are listening find you? How can they get in touch with you? What classes do you have going on?
So the classes I have going on currently, I have classes on the South Side of Chicago, basically at Mama's Africa in Chicago, every Thursday night. I could do Zoom, I could do in person. I'm willing to travel to your area to provide drums. I have my own drums where I could just travel to you to provide those. You can find me on Instagram, Victoria Djembe. Djembe is DJEMBE. Facebook is under Victoria Boateng. My YouTube is under Victoria Boateng as well. So you can find me in those 3 areas.
We'll have all of that information in the show notes as well. And now, Victoria, can you go ahead and give us a lovely drum solo? Because I'm excited. Yeah. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Autism in Black podcast. Remember to get your tickets to the 4th annual Autism in Black conference happening April 19th through the 21st. You can go to autisminblack.org/conference 2024 to secure your tickets today. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you, Victoria, for blessing us and gracing us with all of your information. And we are so excited to have you as a speaker at the conference.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you tremendously.
If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you can always be notified when a new episode drops. To get the resources shared on today's podcast and the show notes, make sure to go to autisminblack.org/podcast. Don't forget to share your takeaways from the show on your IG stories and Twitter using our official hashtag AIBpod so that we can find and share them. If you want to continue the conversation from today's episode, join our Autism in Black podcast Facebook community at facebook.com/group/AIBpod.